And the same thing when we're enjoying ourselves, when good things are happening. Right? So like, we're really enjoying being able to come to the temple and meditate and be relaxed and be with peaceful people. Right? Or we're on vacation going down to wherever people like to go on vacation to, and it's like paradise, right? And we're having such a wonderful time. Right? And the fact that it's impermanent shouldn't depress us. Right? It should just make us realize that we should appreciate it. Because how many people go to, like, a resort in Jamaica and then they complain about the food, right? Or they complain about, I couldn't get fresh towels when I wanted them, right? And, I'm not saying you guys have done this, I'm saying I've done this. But maybe you guys have done this too, right? Where you just look and you find things to worry about, you find things to complain about. Or you go and you say, oh, well, it took me a week to unwind, and then it was time to come home. Right? Because I carried all this stuff with me down there. So it's just, if you realize how impermanent things are, that things are just temporary appearances. Anything that you see is a temporary appearance. So either it'll be gone if it's bugging you, right? Or you can appreciate it while it's there. Right? And this is part of dependent origination. This is part of cause and effect. Any questions on this so far? Okay, let's do the third one. Events depend on the law of cause and effect. Sure.
I have a question. Use the microphone.
Get your magic talkie stick and you can...
I'm not sure exactly what my question is, but in the presence of when you have what you would deem negative conditions, right? And some of those might be coming from you and your interpretations, but some of those might be external factors that you can't control. And some of those might be people and the conditions. In Buddhism, do you try to, part of it is changing your interpretation and your reaction to these, but there's also a place where you try to remove some of these conditions or some of these people. And how do you balance, or what does Buddhism say about when you do what? In terms of those conditions that aren't coming from you, but are impacting on you. Or even if they're impacting on people you love, and you have an ability to do something about those conditions or not do something about those conditions. You have an ability to change your interpretation or help the person with their interpretation, but some of these conditions are negative conditions. So when do you, what does Buddhism say about that? My question.
So I believe the answer is always. For both. And here's, so there's a saying that I really like, right? So it's about stress. And it says, if there's nothing you can do about a situation, and if there's nothing you can do, then why be stressed? There's nothing to do. And if there's something to do, if there's something that you can do about a situation, then just do it. And why be stressed? Because you're fixing it. Okay? So in either case, whether there's anything you can do, whether there's nothing you can do, there's no need to be stressed. Right? There's no need to suffer. And I think, Buddhism is not, the practice of being a Buddhist is not just reinterpreting the world so that you're happy. Right? That's a very kind of limited viewpoint and doesn't really, it's not going to last very long. Right? Because pretty soon there's going to be something like you say that, no matter how hard you work on trying to fool yourself, it's just not a happy thing. Right? But what we do is we don't just kind of reinterpret the situation to suit ourselves or to suit our desires. Right? We're actually just seeing things how they are. Right? And if there's something that we can do, then we do it. If there's nothing we can do, then we accept it. And so I think that's a little bit different from your interpretation of what you were saying.
Well, I guess that where I end up trapping myself sometimes is there's you can stay and you can still be happy and sort of transcend the situation, or you can remove some of those conditions. And sometimes there's benefit to both. I mean, sometimes you need to stay because if you remove that condition, there might be another one like it, another one like it, another one like it coming up. Sometimes it feels like doing something when you can is potentially creating a whole bunch of new negative karma because you're going and making a complaint or doing something to which then is some form of perceived engaged battle. Your intention may be to remove a condition or to right an injustice or do something noble, but the process of that leads to a lot of negative karma.
So I think maybe what you're talking about, so a lot of us have life decisions to make, right? So like,
Right.
do I stay with my partner, do I stay with my job, things like that,
Yeah.
right? So is that the kind of thing you're talking about?
Sometimes, yeah.
How do you know-
Sometimes they're bigger than that in terms of like a really sort of a karma that might be affecting a society or a group of people who are being oppressed or hurt or something, or who are vulnerable and can't fight for themselves or whatever.
Okay. So yeah, so there's always, there's an effect if we take action, there's an effect if we don't take action. And if we were all Buddhas, we would always know what the right thing to do would be, right? But we're not, right? So even though we don't have perfect wisdom, hopefully, we do our best. Usually when we make those decisions, they aren't coming from a place of being Buddha-like, right? They're coming from a place of, I can't take this anymore, right? I need to do something, I need to, either I need to stick with it, or I need to get rid of it, or whatever, right? But those thought processes are not being driven by an understanding of dependent origination, understanding of how the world is. They're being driven by our attachments, our desires, our thoughts, our opinions, our memories, our experiences, and all the tangled mess of our minds. So really the only way to know the right decision is that we have to untangle our minds. Our minds are the only tool that we can use to make these decisions. So we need to untangle that mind, right? Get rid of as much as we can of those preconceptions, of those ideas, of those habits of thought.
You get clear on your intentions.
Clear on intentions, but also just clear on what the real situation is. So I'll share, Sifu has asked me a few times to share my situation at home right now. So this is not the serious kind of societal changing situation, right? But I have 3 dogs at home. And 2 weeks ago, so we've got 2 7-year-old dogs and we've got a 9-month-old. Right? So he's been living with us for 6-7 months. And as the youngest dog, I guess, has matured, dogs kind of have a pack thing, right? So they like to have a status within the family. So the younger dog decided that he would be above the older male. So what happened was about 2 weeks ago, they were just playing outside, everything was fine, and all of a sudden we've got these 2 dogs fighting, right? Not just play fighting, but like snarling, snapping, biting, like really aggressive. And that situation has gotten worse, right? It got better for a little while, but then it started getting worse again. And so we got to the point where we actually had to keep them separated, right? So our kitchen, we've got 2 baby gates that we use to contain the dogs when we need to, right? So they're just gates that they could get each other at. So we thought, right? The situation got bad enough that they actually got at each other over the top of the gate, right? And one of them actually gave, the young one gave the older one an injury to his eye where we actually had to have him get stitches. Right, so that's kind of the situation. So for the last week, I've been living basically in a prison. Right? Because not only do we have to have the dogs separated by these gates, we've actually built barricades in front of the gates. So like we've got the microwave hall in front of one gate, we've got a dog kennel in front of another one. We have to keep them physically separated. If we leave one dog alone, chances are it's going to whine and cry. Right, so like if there's only one of us home, then it's a difficult situation. And it's gotten to the point now where like if the dogs even see each other or hear each other on the other side of the barricade, we've actually like hung towels and stuff. And if they even hear each other, they start barking and going nuts because they want to get to each other. So imagine this environment. Cause and condition. right, and a temporary appearance. Now, my wife is better than me in so many ways, but she's not studied dependent origination. And her name is Sheila. For some of you who have met her, she's not the most serene, patient person. So she's kind of like another condition in this household right now. And I'm actually, I don't know how many dogs I'm gonna go. I actually made her promise that she would have to be nice to the dogs. She would have to, like, you know, not kill them before I got home. She said, I won't kill them. But I look at this situation. I won't say that I'm peaceful. I won't say that I'm calm, especially when, like, they're barking and snarling at each other, right? Or when Sheila is upset and yelling or swearing or, you know, whatever with these dogs, or at me, or at her mother, or random people who phone us. I'm not saying any of us are really calm, but when I kind of withdraw and I think this is all dependently originated, right? This is all cause and condition. This is all temporary appearance, right? At root, all the situation is activity. All the suffering is coming from my interpretation, from me. What's going to happen is, so what we're doing right now is we're looking at the situation, right? We're trying to see if we can do different things to help them get along to make the situation better. We'll be seeing a specialist next week that will hopefully give us some other advice, or at least tell us, give up. Right? And chances are, like, I'm fairly convinced that we're going to have to find a new home for the young dog, for the small dog. So, think about that. Think about, it's 2 weeks from now, right? The vet has said, the specialist has said, like, you know, probably 10% chance these dogs are going to get along, you have to get rid of one. So think about past that, the dog has a new home. So, I'm happier, our house is peaceful, back to normal, Sheila's happier, our 2 dogs are happier. The young dog is off to a new home, he's happy. Right? Everyone's in a better situation. Why is it a hard decision?
Because you attach yourself to the dog.
It's attachment. It's me, right? If we insisted on keeping the dog no matter what, because we love the dog,
And it's you who suffers.
right? How often do we create that situation? But if we look at it, right, and this applies whether it's a job, whether it's a spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend, whether it's the kind of bigger things that you're talking about, right? If we can actually get rid of our delusions, get rid of our attachments, look at the situation realistically. What happens if I take this action? What happens if I take this action? Right? Then in the end, we know what to do. Right? And it helps. And it even helps now knowing that, you know, even though we're still in the midst of that situation, I know what the process is, I know how, you know, the actions that I've got in front of us, I'm investigating what those actions effects will be, as well as I can tell, being, you know, in my non-Buddha state. Right? And when I'm able to do that, even now in the midst of the situation, it's so much better. Right? It's so much more peaceful, maybe not externally in the house, but certainly internally in my mind. Right? And because of that, when the dog's barking, when Sheila's upset and yelling at me or the dog, it's easier for me not to yell back. Right? It's easier not for me to be mad at her or be mad at the dogs, whatever. Because I understand this is temporary appearances, this is causes and conditions. Right? What there is to do, I'm doing. What I can't do anything about, I accept. With Jen.
And just to add to what Greg is saying, we've had students that have come here that have really been evaluating their jobs because they're not happy with their present employment for all the conditions. But they end up staying they end up staying once they've learned these teachings. Even Florence can even talk to just coming here to these classes, and her whole job and her view of the job changed, and she ended up with promotions and sizably increase in finances because she's the one that changed.
So that's one situation. Other situations, it's absolutely the wrong thing to do,
That's right.
right? Because you're just perpetuating the behavior. Or you're perpetuating, you're making the conditions right for the other person, the other people in the situation to continue suffering.
So I just got an insight, which was part of, as you don't know and as you're changing and as you're interpreting, you go forward and you try little things, or those conditions keep changing. So as time moves forward, they keep changing, and sometimes the negatives increase and the positives decrease, et cetera, et cetera. But every moment you move forward in time, sometimes every minute, sometimes every day, every week, those conditions again change, and you reassess based on where they are and where you are, right? So it's all impermanent, but it's shifting, and there's more peace in the fact that as you go forward, you'll get more information and interpretation and figure out what to do.
Absolutely. And how many, like, whatever it is that we do, whatever actions we take, sometimes we forget to actually watch for the effects of those actions. Right, so we might have a mental picture of someone, like this person is stubborn, this person is angry, this person is obstinate, right? And we might have that opinion of them, and even though, like, you know, we step back and we say, okay, well, you know, let me try patience, let me try this, let me try that, right? But we still have this image of this person being this way, so we actually don't even notice that they're changing. So this happens too. Okay. There's other situations where it is right to take another decision. Right? So sometimes you want to stick with it, sometimes you don't. Right? So 10 years ago I worked for Nortel Networks, or 12 years ago? Wow. Time flies. So at the beginning of the 2000s, Nortel was going through a bit of a meltdown. They were laying off a lot of employees. It was kind of like a layoff kind of culture, right? Where we were just all kind of waiting to see who would get cut this week, kind of thing. The people who did best were usually the ones who jumped early. Right? So the people that kind of stuck with it, kind of said, okay, well, I'm going to hang on, hopefully I don't get cut, hopefully I keep my job, that kind of thing. Well, the ones who actually said, you know, put their hands up and said, you know, give me my severance package, I'm willing to leave. Those are the ones who actually wound up doing better, right? Not having to take jobs with pay cuts or you know, lower seniority or that kind of thing. They went to another company and they were actually able to do, on the whole, generally, better. Okay, and again, causes and conditions, right? If you interpret them correctly, if you look at them correctly, right? If you're not afraid.
If you're not attached to the job and you're working.
Exactly. Not so much even attached to the job, but attached to the security that you think it provides.